Hi, everybody. My name is Ernest Wilkins, and I am working here with the good folks at Chicago Ideas on Programming, and we're really excited for tonight's conversation. I really want to be able to let you know that everything we're doing tonight is kind of a first step in a new direction for us here, and we would love for you to keep an eye out on what we're doing by following our newsletter. Go to chicagoideas.com/newsletter to check out what we have going on in the future. It's going to be really great. But in the meantime, tonight is about insight and inspiration. It's a conversation about trying to find that balance, that rhythm, that, in a sense, perfect beat between, creativity and stress or anxiety, and how some of the best and brightest deal with those real life situations. So we want to go ahead and welcome now Paul, DJ White Shadow Blair, and Evan Ross. They're going to have a great conversation. Be sure to enjoy, because I know I'm going to.
Go ahead.
What's up?
My
brother Paul Blair.
Hi, Evan. Thanks, Ernest. I know you disappeared really fast, but thanks for introducing us. We are just supposed to chit-chat, I guess, for the next little bit here about how we are creative during the challenging days of time and times that is being a creative, I guess. So
I'm still trying to figure out how he popped out and you popped in.
I know, it was crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
We went from 0 to 60 really fast.
Real fast.
Okay, you guys are on. Have at it.
I don't know if anybody's ready for the conversations me and you have.
I know, it's true. This is weird for me, though, because I feel like I should be in your living room. I know that you've had a busy day and you're cranking away, so thanks for hanging out with me on the Zoomer here.
Of course, bro.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Well, we're doing a photo shoot for our, the baby's on the way, so we wanted to get a photo shoot while Ashley was pregnant. So we're shooting with Amanda Demi, who's like one of my favorite artists of all time. Creative directors, photographers, just amazingness.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you've been shooting pictures with a pregnant wife all day?
Yeah.
Sounds like a ball.
It's a ball. I've got used to it.
Yeah, no, I get it. Almost time, though. Almost time.
Yeah, it's been such an interesting time right now. I feel like me and you have been talking this whole time, so it's like, we kind of know where each of us have been through this this moment, and trying to make sure that we stay creative and stay doing what we love. So it's like, this is a good conversation to be had, I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ernest said earlier to try and talk about like how it is to supposedly be sane during this time. And I think that and you can stop me, I guess, whenever you want to interject. But for me, I absolutely went haywire like the first month, I think, like first 3 weeks of like this whole thing breaking up, because I was in LA, like with you, and I mean, like whatever, working. And then, I went home to Chicago, and I just never got to go back, because like in the time that I was at home, like kicking it, whatever, doing stuff in Chicago, it was like you couldn't move. So it was like I left everything in LA that I thought I was going back to in like 3 or 4 days. Like, so right. Yeah. So like all my computers and like the stuff that I would normally take with me on a long sojourn was stuck in LA. So I was in Chicago, like with my work laptop, like trying to figure out what to do with life and all the contracts that got canceled and all the movies that got pushed back and all the music stuff that got pushed
Everything.
back. Yeah.
Went to a halt.
Something's funny, and I want to share this with you, and I want to share it with everybody, I guess, is that for that first week when I didn't know what to do, I went back to what I used to do, which was like just make beats. Like I wasn't in the studio with anybody. I wasn't doing anything, and I was just making beats. And it's funny that now that we're opening back up and kind of getting together, and the studio situation's getting back, I'm actually playing those beats for people, and I actually sent one to you.
Yeah, I've heard of you. Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you used one of them, and I've been playing for people in the studio now, and it's like people love them, and it turns out that during that first 2 weeks of complete chaos and like not knowing what was going on, I think that like my emotions translated into some of those tracks, and they ended up being pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Different at least, yeah.
But no, incredible. I think probably some of my favorite I've actually ever heard of yours, and I've heard almost everything since I was probably maybe 16 years old with you.
Very, very young.
So, no, I feel the same way. The funny part was like for me, I don't think I realized how it was affecting me in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of was like looking at people like, man, people are losing it right now, and I didn't realize that I was losing it in the process. You know, and but the losing it was kind of great because I've gotten so accustomed to what I have and how I do things and my space and my friends and all these things that keep me busy to the point where sometimes I feel like there's not enough time in the day. And I feel like it was one of the first times where I was like, for one, I was being a lot more creative at home, but I was also spending so much time with my daughter and my stepson and my wife. And even though it wasn't like, you know, I always spend a lot of time with them. It was a different kind of time spent where you're trying to teach your children too. You're realizing a lot of the things that you haven't explained to them is because, you know, you felt like that there wasn't a need to do it at the time, but you start seeing the things that you're like, oh, this is a good thing for me to start dealing with them. And like, I feel like there was a lot of growth in my children as well as myself. And then I got a lot of great passion things that I had just forgot about because it wasn't at the moment about, you know, it wasn't about what makes money at that specific time. It was about, you couldn't do all the things that I know how to do to make, you know, how to like provide and do what we do. So it became about more, what do I love to do, you know?
Yeah.
But I still think in that process of coming up with the creatives, I was also losing sight of, you know, the health factor and like taking care of myself, taking care of my heart and my feelings, and then realizing that I was creating a lot of great stuff, but I also had to focus in on, you know, what my heart was feeling and being able to talk to somebody, because not being able to see my mother because, you know, you're not supposed to see anybody, and the kids not being able to see their family members and things like that. It's like all those things are like those, you don't realize how important it is all the time, but it's such a huge factor, you know?
Yeah. And I think that like, honestly, some of those things, I guess in any situation, right, that's a dire situation or a strange situation, like you learn, right? So like like all those things you just said, I learned like what was important and like how to not necessarily navigate when I was supposed to be navigating. Like you said, I didn't know that I was freaking out. Like when I was supposed to be navigating, I was thinking about completely different things. So it's like the whole, like looking at it, and we're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination now, but like kind of out of that mood, I guess, like looking back at that mood and like having that extra time and what I did with it is actually, I think, going to help out more in the future for situations that aren't as dire, like where it's like, oh man, like if I got out of that, if you know what I mean, like
I could deal with it.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it doesn't like necessarily make you a better person at the moment, because there was a couple moments there that I was like pull all my hair out, but like now it's like I've been paying attention to my sleep. I haven't paid attention to my sleep like ever, like in my entire life. So it's like I had time to like read about how important like sleep was to you, and like I'm going over like what it is to go to bed at a certain time, wake up at a certain time, and it's made me like so much better as a creative, you know, now than I was even before all the madness hit. And I've been working on, you know this, but I've been working on a couple really big albums. I have a couple projects that got put on hold that I was able to re-examine. I've been in the studio a ton, and they want me to talk about like what it is what I have coming up, but I really can't talk about the specifics because I don't like to talk about stuff until it's
things
like,
before it happens.
Until they're in people's hands. But I will tell you this: pre-COVID, and then let's call it the disaster period. The disaster period, like of COVID, like helped me do what I think is going to be bigger than anything I've ever done in my entire life. I've accomplished like the craziest things in the last 2 months, and I think it's just from like taking taking a step back and re-evaluating both things that are important to me and things that are important to me creatively, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. There was like a moment where I was like, wow, what do I do now? But for some reason, the things that came out of this moment, honestly, I think it had to do with, it was like all these things that we manifest over the years of our like lives, you know, in the process. Actually, it's a funny story because there's a project I'm working on with Terrence Howard, but I'm not going to go fully into it. But it's an incredible show, an incredible project about jazz and blues. And, you know, all of a sudden, everything started to work and it started to make sense. And everybody had the time to sit down and make it make sense. So I was just somebody at the gate. No.
Dadding.
So, but my basically all these things started happening, and I remember calling my mom, and I was like, you know, it's kind of amazing. I'm like, how did this all of a sudden happen during this time? And she was like, all these things don't just happen. You manifested them throughout your life, and these are things that you wanted to do, and maybe just didn't have the time.
Right.
And I think that what this gave us, as sad as all of the things that have happened during this time have been, it's been a tragic year in a lot of ways. And a year that has given us this kind of like, you know, tougher skin that I feel like we may have never experienced otherwise, you know?
Yeah.
Has brought out some incredibly beautiful creative experiences that have turned into something that may have been just an idea is actually coming into fruition, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier about remembering, like next time around, it's about remembering that, like, because that's what I'm saying. At the beginning, when the ball dropped, it's like you're freaking out, like none of this can happen, right? And that's what I mean. Like, this has reminded me that, like, I have a ton of friends. I was able to call people, like, when we were at the darkest times, when everything got like, yo, remember we were talking about that movie, like in 2013? Like, let's do that right now. Like, I got nothing. Right now. Let's do this right now. So it's like, I think as a creative, like it was kind of cool to see all your friends going through the same thing, realizing that you're okay and things were going to be okay and you could still do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and you come out tougher at the end of it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it's been largely as from a creative standpoint, aside from all the awful things going on in the world, but from a creative standpoint, I've learned more about myself in this time than I think I ever have in any given time in life.
Me too. I feel like I learned more about everything, things that I didn't even know I was capable of being a part of or understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The creative process. I think a lot of times because the way life works is when something works, we get stuck into the routine.
Yeah.
And I think it just changed the routine. So you start looking at everything differently. I remember we were in the beginning of it, and I was drawing a lot, and I was posting painting and drawing and sketching, and I ended up working with. I did that whole live feed. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was incredible. It was like such a learning experience for me too, to like give that gift a little bit more and pay more attention to it. Yeah, it was incredible. It was like that part, those kind of pieces were special, and I kind of feel like, and what else was that when you did those things, your friends and everybody supported, because everybody was wanting some hope towards the future, and like the idea that we can go and create something together or create an idea like we were talking about, and no idea was a bad idea, and that is what creating is. It doesn't always work. It may not work, but it's about allowing it to be something.
Yeah.
Right.
And the funny thing is, when the bottom drops out, you're less scared of doing stuff. You know what I mean?
You're because like, I'll just blame it on something else.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, that's another thing. Like most of the time in I know this is true for you too, and I think it's true for everybody, but you're scared. That being scared is a big part of the creative process, being afraid and like getting in your own way or like stopping yourself from doing things because of the ramifications or because of stuff that you make up in your head. And I think for a brief moment in time during this melee, it was like, who cares? Like if I mess this up, like I don't care. So it's like,
I'm not ready to lose that.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like coming out of it, I'm going to approach things in a way that pays tribute to that, because that's just something that, like, whatever. I didn't
That's
know.
the pact we have to make.
I know, right? For real.
Because the fear that we live in life on doing what we love because we may not think we're as good as we should be, or our idea may not be good enough, or not enough people told you it was amazing, is not a real thing. So it's like,
I know.
Now we feel that because we were in a place where it's like, I mean, you can't tell me I'm gonna, like, there's no way that it's fine regardless, but it should always be fine to create. We should always be able to make an ass of ourselves
Sure.
in the idea of creation,
Yeah, and I think that, like, you forget that on a normal basis because of what you were saying. You get in a channel, you get on a road, and then things are comfortable because you're on that road. You're around people that you're normally around. You're going to the place that you normally go to. I'm in my studio. Like, I'm not forced to, like, make stuff on my laptop anymore. And it's like I came up with a whole different vibe sitting on my counter and making something that I would in the studio every day. And it's just like, oh, this turned out pretty cool. Then you realize it's because it's coming out of you. It's not because you're in a certain place or doing it at a certain time or doing it a certain way. It's like you start to realize that, like, because you trust your path is what, you know what I mean? And so it's like, for me, when you strip away all the comings of the outside world,
the
or
outside
the
voices,
noise, the noise,
the voices,
yeah, right, the voices in your head and stuff, and you're just doing stuff, it comes out to be great,
Yeah, I think a lot of times we always feel like others have the answer, but we're all just people. And it's like, it's like we feed off of each other, which is beautiful. But in the end of the day, that, what we are is what it is. What we have to give is what it is. And I think that allowing that to be perfect for yourself is the most important thing. And I think during this time, there was no choice. We didn't have a million people to put that all together for you,
Yeah.
So no, it's what, and we're still in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think so. Is there anything, like, that you're super stoked about that like you're doing right now? Like, I know you just asked us about projects, but it doesn't have to be music stuff, like anything, like what's going on.
No, well, musically right now, yeah. I mean, we've been working a little bit, me and you've been, having to get a lot done as well. And musically right now, I'm very excited. This is the first time I've actually, it's the first time I'm really releasing a project on my own without being like, my solo project. And I'm finally really excited about it. And I think this time kind of helped me find that thing that I want. One of the biggest things for me was always like, I love music regardless, but unless it's what I want to give to the world, then I'm away.
Yeah, the last record that you sent me is my favorite record that you've ever sent me.
I love that.
Yeah, no, it's so good.
I love that.
They asked us to talk about, as great friends, what inspires you about each other, or something you've learned from the other person.
We're more than great friends. He's the godfather to my child.
I know, he's like my brother. So yes, this is more of a family thing than a great friend thing. But what can I say? What inspires me about you?
Yeah, sure.
So I've met a whole lot of people in my whole life. I'm old, and I feel like I'm only getting older, which is probably the way everybody feels. But in my whole life, I've met very few people that are such a beacon of light. I've been with you in some really strange and really unusual situations, and I've never seen another human being that is so well received in the world. Like, and I don't know how you do it. Sometimes it's actually quite mystifying to me that we've known each other as long as we have, and I'm still in awe of it. But you can walk into a place, and sometimes you know it, which is also pretty funny. But like most of the time, most of the time, you don't. And like people just you have a way about you that disarms people, and you have a way about you that opens people up. So it's like I just watch you do things that you probably don't even know yet you're doing sometimes that I find to be impossible for me to do. And it's just that's inspiring to me. Someone who can, without even opening their mouths most of the time, like just incite joy amongst other people. People get really excited when you're around. If it's not like even first person experience, they're like, oh, I'll tell somebody like, oh, that's my friend, like blah blah. Evan, you know Evan? Like that. Yeah. I've known Evan since I was 2. He's the greatest guy of all time.
I've known everybody since I was 2.
And so I'm very proud to have you as my friend. I really have enjoyed every second.
You're my brother.
Together. So yeah.
Well, what inspires me about you is the fact that I think you inspire others. That's what's so crazy is that there's I remember the first time we did a few songs together, and Leona and Mom, my sister Leona, my mom came by the studio, and your energy about the records. And I remember Mom leaving, she's like, I want somebody to have that energy about my music. She goes, because I was in, but you inspire, you're creative. You're creative in so many different levels, and it inspires me that like the way your ability to stand behind your creation and what you do, and your belief in others to help that creation be real is like it's an inspiration because it's when you're looking at a massive picture, there's pieces to it, and you are not only the creator of the music and the space or the movie or whatever it is, but you get the artist and everyone involved inspired. And to me, it's more important than anything else for the people that are creating to feel entitled to what they have to give in the project and loved in that sense and put in a place to give their all. And you've been that for me from the beginning. And I always felt like the only problem ever was the others around. Yeah. We were great always, and I think, and it wasn't even a problem, but I always knew that I could look over and see you, even if I was performing or doing whatever. Not only would you be honest, but I knew that you were rooting for me and paying attention to every single detail because that's how your brain works. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, and in all walks of life. I you do a lot for others, you've done a lot for me, but you inspire me with the way you carry yourself and the human that you are. I can call you about anything, and there's a confidence that you have in me that I can figure it out. Yeah. And so I'm very lucky that you got my back.
That's really hard to sit there and listen to somebody else talk about you like that.
Surely is.
Yeah. But thanks. I think
I love you, bro.
I think that it's nice to hear. I got to start doing that more often with people. Yeah, so I can hear the part about me, so I can tell them. I think when I grew up, I had a dream in my head from when I was a little kid. I think I knew what I wanted to do when I was in second grade, and I know that sounds like a mark of like a accomplishment, but it really was hard because there was no way to do it. And I think even now, I could say I have very few people that I look to as mentors. I do have a couple now, but I look to very few people as mentors because I didn't have them when I was younger. So it's part of the reason I love to do what I do and try and help people as a producer. Like that's my job, right? To bring out the best in people. Just because when I was young, I didn't really have anybody that believed in what I was telling them. When I was a kid, I mean, even in my yearbook in like high school, I wrote like, one day I'm going to be like I'm going to be a giant record guy. Said something about Eminem in there. I was like, oh, Eminem, the greatest rapper from Detroit. Like I'm going to be like the greatest like DJ or producer. And then I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, but I sure made it farther than I thought I was going to be. But you know what I mean? Like farther than I thought I could. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely love the idea that you're you're happy with that shows for you. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
that's
my God,
my
yeah.
whole goal in life is to become the best at that. So if that's working, that's a
Listen,
good.
we've always talked about trying to get like a house, like some house that we got a bridge that we could all your
That's gonna
family,
happen.
my family, just have a bridge and just
That's gonna happen. That's
on
gonna
some island.
happen. Yeah, I don't even know. It could be
Big dreams.
the whole
This is
time.
the thing, man. Dreams are everything.
Yeah,
Dreams are everything. If you can and fake it till you make it, because the truth of it is like it's a feeling. Winning is a feeling,
yeah,
you know. And when you have friends that dream with you, it's everything. Because especially during these kind of moments in life, like well, we're so unsure. When the truth of it is we've always been unsure. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow ever. That's never.
yeah.
It was just seemed a little bit more consistent up until now.
Sure.
The truth of it is that where you are in your space is what it is. Where you are in your whatever that takes to make you feel excited for tomorrow is you know, when you wake up in the morning, you want to feel motivated for the day.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing. And I think that's what sets everything off, you know. And I actually choose every morning before I get out of bed, no matter how much I'm supposed to be rushing, to stop myself and tell myself I'm going to enjoy today.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
choose to enjoy my day. I choose. And I'm not going to let anything change. Because
Yeah.
if it starts wrong, it ends wrong, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, that's something I learned during this time too. And if it's not working, quit trying to force it to work. Like, it's like, if it's not, that's something else I used to do like a lot before this whole thing. If somebody was doing something and I was like, this is the worst, why are you doing it like this? Before I would like try and like change things or fix things and blah, blah. Some things just aren't fixable or aren't worth like spending the whole day ruining your day, like not making it the best day possible because other people are miserable or they're like not, you know what I mean? So
true.
I hear you on all that. I was wasting a lot of finite energy on trying to get things done that really didn't need to get done. They just needed to stop trying to get them done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have anything specifically that you find extra motivating right now? Music, art, like anything that like you're doing like with work at all, or like with the
musically, of course. These projects I'm developing for television, absolutely. I've never been able to just be one focus kind of, which is tough because it makes me kind of all over the place. But I'm motivated by this new baby on the way. And I feel like it's giving me this like, okay, I gotta get a lot done before I spend a lot of time, just with this little baby, staying up all night.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also motivated. I'm motivated by my friends, like people like you. I'm motivated by my family. I'm motivated by my mother. I'm motivated by the world right now. I feel like we're a part of something now, and the movement and that feeling of, we've never been in a place where in all things, and Black Lives Matter and all these things, our era have never been in a place where we've had to, support and love each other in such a way. In this moment that's going on. And I think it reflects in our art, it reflects in everything. It's like such an important time,
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about this time for, I think, the rest of our lives.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think like my dad used to always say, like, if you're gonna make an omelet, you gotta break an egg. And I think that, like, that was just basically telling me to go to work. So if I ever wanted anything, if I was like, I need a pair of jeans, Dad, he'd be like, well, if you want an omelet, you got to break an egg. And that meant like, go get a job. But like, what I'm saying is that, like, I think that this moment in time broke a couple eggs. And like now we're in the middle of, we got broken egg in a bowl. And like, now it's like time to make some omelets, right? Like, so it's
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know the omelets.
It's kind of cute. You can also,
that actually yelling in the background.
Yeah, they're working.
I'm pregnant. No, so So anyway, all I'm saying is that like it is motivating. It is like it's challenging, and you know, with everything else, like it's hard to take the negativity out of it sometimes. But if you're just like, okay, this is what it is. I see what it is. Everything that's going on, like this is what's happening. What are we gonna do? And then you go out and do it. I've been on the phone more with people like an activist sense of purpose since I was like, I can't even remember. You know what I mean?
No, me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, yo, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? Well, how do I help? Where do I put this? Like, when do we do this? And so that I think is another good thing that came out of this.
It's almost like it'd be so cute. It's like you're
I feel the
small
same
enough.
way.
You can wear a black
It's
coat
Amanda Demi,
and almost like
Oh.
the genius, the visionary.
also play this whole other.
But it is.
Right.
Are you guys good?
Juxtaposed. Yes. Hey.
No, I feel the same way. I feel like I've been in a whole different kind of space, and also not afraid to say how I feel, which I think was always a thing, you know. And I think a lot of times people feel like they don't know enough, you know, and this has been the time to learn. Because what we've realized is a lot of the problem is the lack of knowledge. And, you know, I think for each and every one of us, it's been, you know, a time to really get to understand where we are and what has gotten us to the place that we are in now, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And that to me has been, you know, I feel like I've grown up a lot, and because although I have 3 kids, I still think I'm like 12 years old sometimes. But finally, I feel like, you know,
Sure.
there's a different level to what I am as a man and what I believe in, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah. When somebody grabs you by the neck and forces you to look at what's going on, it's like
Yeah.
you have to look at what's going on. And I think honestly that there is since this has gone into whatever the virus has taken over, there's all of the things that have happened where we were forced to sit there and watch is like that. Somebody grabbing you by the neck and like, look what's going on your Instagram. Look what's going on TV. Look what's going on. Like, what are you going to do? And so people that never had a chance to slow down and think about what was actually going on, like the amount of people that were like, oh, I never even heard of that before, was
Oh
like
my God,
mind blowing to me.
Mind blown.
Because as an artist, like that's all we talk about. Like people don't realize, like if you and I get in the studio, like the first 2 hours is us just talking about, oh my God, do you think that there's a UFO on your
Like, yeah.
like or like do you think that like this is gonna change? Or did you see this? Like all for the first 2 hours of every creative endeavor that I do, musically, film wise, anything that we have that I'm doing creatively, the first hour is like conspiracy theories, politics. Like, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
So everybody that I know is well versed on this, but like some of the people that I know that aren't, you know, that aren't.
Well, we also don't realize, I think, that how many people aren't. I think until now, I mean, I knew there was a large community of the world that didn't know and didn't understand, but now you really see the large amount of people that just didn't grow up with those things, didn't have those tools, and you know, a lot of it is really just about, you know, knowledge and teaching and being aware. I think everybody that, you know, a lot of people were shocked at people's responses, you know, and people of anything, you know. It's like everybody's like, oh wow, people feel like that, and it was because they didn't have, you know, a lot of times it's the way we teach, and it's what isn't being taught, you know?
Right.
So
right. And that's what I'm saying too, is like a lot of creativity in that zone. It's like these 12 books, like what was it at one point, like the whole entire New York Times bestseller list was all Black authors that have written books about like that were creative endeavors that never had a chance to shine. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, both, are you looking at?
you just like daddy. She's wearing one of my hats and a blazer, all black with the belly out. So,
oh, nice. So yeah, I mean, like as far as like that whatever, it's been nice to see people use creativity to express themselves during this time, even when things are terrible. It's like the rose that bloomed from concrete. There's been a lot of those things that happened during this time too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say? I think we're almost done.
I mean, my thing is, I just, I think one of those things too, it's lucky to have other people in your life that are like-minded that you get to like call on. And we had that. Yeah, we had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these things, I think, is what makes us who we are. And if we could honestly focus on the dream and allow ourselves to understand that there's a lot of pain and a lot of sadness, and be able to be in a space where we can still retrieve we are so lucky to be here. We're so lucky to be able to create. We're so lucky that we have these tools, and I think you can gain those tools over time. I think you can find those things that you may have not seen before. It's like search for the unknown in yourself right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I totally agree. And the last thing I want to say, and like to close off, is that I just thought of this when you're talking about that. Everybody that I know felt exactly the same way. Everybody. So it's like people that I know that they're like, oh God, they have a $2 million boat and like do whatever. And then I have friends that like work, at whatever. They own a restaurant, or they make shoes, or they literally work at Walmart. Everybody went through the exact same thing. Everybody went through the same stop. Everybody freaked out. So, and everybody had the same problems. What am I going to do? Where's the money going to come from? How am I going to do this? How, you know what I'm saying? But the end result is, which I think to me is the greatest thing, is like we all have the same problems. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you're doing. Everybody has the exact same problem. You know what I mean? And we deal with them all differently. Yeah, we deal with them all differently. We have different perspectives about how to overcome those problems. But at the end of the day, everybody feels the same pain and the same hurt and the same struggle. And so we need to be kind at all times. That's the biggest thing that I always say. I think I have "be kind" tattooed on me somewhere. But that to me, and this whole shebang has been like, you never know what the next person's going through, and that most likely they're doing the exact same thing inside that you are. So whatever they look like, whatever they act like, if they're having a terrible day and they're being a dick behind the grocery counter, all you gotta do is reply in kindness and be as kind as humanly possible, because everybody's going through the same thing.
That's it. That's it. I agree. 1,000%.
Okay, I think they want to steal the mic back from us. And
okay.
Yeah, I love you a lot, and I'll see you in.
I love you so much.
Yeah,
you guys, that was so amazing. Thank you so much, Evan. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for your time. That was really great and inspiring.
Thanks, Ernest.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Folks, if you enjoyed the conversation that you just saw, we hope that you'll continue to join us for new events. We recently just kind of undergone a bit of a change here. There won't be a traditional Chicago Ideas Week at the end of this month like normal. We're going to try something different and kind of go with a more ongoing approach. We have a couple of really big events on dock, and think about these as must-see TV. You got to show up, you got to see them. Dr. Fauci's on deck later on in this month. And we have a couple of surprises under the hat that we're going to reveal later. So for all new information and updates and where to find everything that you love about Chicago Ideas, as well as what's to come, go to chicagoideas.com/newsletter. Okay? Have a great evening.